On the ship, you can't tell what the echo's coming off, so that the echo of an aeroplane target is completely suppressed by the massive echoes that you get off the land targets.
Unable to tell the plane from its surroundings, the 909 had nothing to lock onto, and the missile could not be fired.
909 to be introduced by land, cannot engage.
Hello, to engage your CDR. Keep trying.
With the height at which they're coming in, we're getting nothing from the fire control radars. They cannot acquire them.
With the planes flying so low, it was up to the broadsword to prevent disaster. Because her Seawolf system was designed to deal with low-flying missiles, her tracking radars had a much narrower beam, able to successfully isolate the plane. Graham Edmonds was the man in charge of the Seawolf system that day.
We could see the airplanes on radar. We had a track on them, and the system was, as they say, ready to go. A bit like Manchester United playing Gillingham, really. You know, it was a foregone conclusion.
Seawolf has a computer that works out the threats and prioritizes them. Once it has done this, the operator just has to wait for the target to come into range, and Seawolf will shoot it down automatically. The system had been very successful, shooting down several aircraft, including this inbound Argentine Mirage some 4 days earlier. But on the 25th of May, the system did not function quite as intended.
What happens is that two airplanes close together look like one target to the computer until they're quite close. When the aircraft are about 9 miles away, and all this happens far faster than I can explain it, the computer's brain recognized that were two targets. So it replaced the one computer-generated track with two new ones.
It was at this critical point that something went wrong.
The two new tracks formed, and the one original track became gash, became spurious. But it continued to, the track was still in this computer's brain, so it remained there and came towards us actually faster than the two new tracks. So the computer thought, that's more dangerous than the other two, and still focused on it.
Erasing the false track should have been a very quick process. But deep inside the broadsword, the computer that controlled the tracking radar had frozen up and had to be manually reset.
This is a FM 1600 computer. When we have to reset the tracker and restart the computer, this is the sort of action that we have to do. You literally have seconds to take the right steps and press the right keys. As it turned out, we just weren't quick enough. We'd achieved it previously, but not on this important occasion.
They had run out of time. This photo shows one of the Argentine pilots in the last seconds of his approach.
Pegaban cortos los impactos, o sea, yo veía explosiones en el aire y el agua como si danzara, como si bailara el agua delante nuestro.
4 bombs were launched, 3 of which passed over the top, and 1 bounced off the sea, came in through the right-hand back end of the ship on the climb, and came out through the flight deck without exploding, and passing through the front of the Lynx helicopter that was parked up there before popping into the sea on the other side.
Y yo grité, viva la patria, canejo, aprendan gringos de mierda.
Broadsword, although damaged, was still able to fight, and there were still 2 more planes to worry about, approaching fast from the west. They would take 1 minute and 28 seconds to arrive.
Everything seemed to be seemingly right from my point of view. There's no point crying over spilt milk. There's 2 more targets to deal with, and you at least get a draw. So focus immediately on what the other 2 aircraft were doing.
Each had another pair of bombs, but as had been shown by the first wave, getting them to explode correctly was not easy. At the rear was an impeller designed to spin as the bomb fell through the air, delaying the explosion and giving the plane time to escape the blast. it had to turn 16.5 times, releasing a firing pin, which on impact could slide forward and detonate the warhead. To get a successful deployment, the pilot had to release the bomb at exactly the right moment. A difficult task, given that the British were hurling everything they had at the incoming threat.
I had two 20mm Oerlikon guns of World War II vintage, which was manned by one sailor, hand-aimed, to try and get these low-flying aircraft, which of course was hopeless. I had sailors on the upper deck with rifles, which made us feel better to try and shoot at something.
Richard Lane had a repeat performance with the Sea Dart, made all the more stressful by the knowledge that this time the planes were heading straight for him.
Yet again, I counted them down in range from my tactical plot here, trying desperately to lay the 909 fire control radars onto them.
Roger, come on, get...
But although they were pointing down the bearing, they couldn't get a real solution. I fired the Sea Dart in an emergency mode that just went anywhere. We know not where it went, but it might have put the pilots off.
Fire, they're good!
Launched without guidance, the missile had no hope of hitting the enemy, and even as a distraction it failed. The planes were 30 seconds or 4 miles away. Coventry's defences once again lay in tatters.
Confirmed close range batteries at Scoop 2. Capital A1 still unable to regain.
So there I was, and hoping to be protected by a Seawolf from the Type 22, which had a very difficult job, not only to survive itself, but to get in the right position to defend me.
Meanwhile, on the broadsword, they had more immediate concerns.
And I have to say that at this point, I did rather forget the Coventry. One is consumed by the need to sort out your own problems, I have to say, rather than worry about your colleague 400 yards away.
The appreciation was that Broadsword could no longer support us because she had done nothing during the first raid, and I told the captain that he was on his own, basically, no support, so manoeuvre as necessary, and we conducted a hard starboard turn.
By changing course at the last minute, Coventry was trying to make herself a much more difficult target. Meanwhile, on the broadsword, the Seawolf was reset, ready, and waiting.
And I thought, well, I'm not going to rely upon the system doing it automatically this time. I indicated the targets to the trackers by making a computer input, so that I knew we were locked onto the targets at long range.
Raid continued to close now at 5 miles.
We had a television system where a human being could track the target on a television picture. And I could see this A4 smack in the middle. And if you'll excuse the language, I said, "Right, you bastard, die."
It was quite a long wait. And, but quite a satisfactory one, because I knew this time I'd acquired the targets, nothing was going to go wrong. Or so I thought.
Preparing to engage the second target when, to my horror and everybody's horror in the operations room, I suddenly saw the Coventry's bow crossing the line of fire.
Seawolf, no go, sir, no go!
This broke the lock of the Seawolf system, and we were unable to fire.
With 25 seconds left, just before the attacking planes came within range of Seawolf, the two ships had managed to get in each other's way. There was nothing more either captain could do. At 400 yards or 2 seconds away, the aircraft released their bombs.
Right, now into brace!
As the bombs fell, the impeller started the 16.5 turns needed to release the detonators. 3 out of 4 weapons were on target.
all I remember is my radar table appeared to explode in front of me. I was enveloped by a fireball, and then the whole war, for me, started to take on a different perspective.
Coventry, listening to port.
You're aware of a flash and you're stunned, you know, and hopefully you come round, which is the case with me. So I knew immediately what had happened. And you're aware of total devastation and darkness and silence.
Mr. Captain, sir, looks like Coventry's going to roll over. Listening heavy.
There was one of the computer crew from down below trying to crawl up the ladder into the ops room, and I crawled across to try and help him out, but he slipped back into the inferno below before I could get to him.
Well, Coventry is launching light rafts, abandoning ship on a starboard side.
And then the ship very rapidly started going over. It's all credit to the ship's company and their training. Very calm, no shouting, panic. Eventually, as the ship was going on its side, I just walked down the side and swam to life raft. And so it is remarkable that only 19 men didn't survive. I mean, they were killed by the blast of the bomb instantly. But it is incredible that nearly 300 people got out of that ship.
The United Kingdom went on to win the war. But because the British trained navies worldwide, the knowledge gained from this sinking travelled around the globe. The principle of relying solely on missiles for defence was rejected, and new close-range rapid-fire gun systems were installed. Both Sea Dart and Sea Wolf have been upgraded, and airborne early warning radar is now used to give much better notice of attack. The ships in this harbour belong to a bygone era, and are being replaced by a new generation, incorporating all the lessons learned on that day in 1982.